Let the record show that all council members are present this evening except for Vice Mayor Susie Collazo. To that end, let's keep Susie and her family in our prayers. Susie recently had a death of a family member, so let's make sure we keep her in our thoughts and prayers. The next item on the agenda is presentations. If I could have Katie Tepkaison join me at the podium. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Katie. I'm not going to try to pronounce the name a second time. I figured I got it right the first time. Let's not chance it. We, the City Council, are going to recognize Katie this evening, and the proclamation is as follows. Commendation. Whereas Katie is a senior at Newark Memorial High School, Katie has been an active member of Interact Club of the high school division of Rotary International during all 4 years. Interact is one of the largest clubs in Newark Memorial High School with over 100 members. Whereas Katie serves as an Interact Club historian for her sophomore year, served as vice president as well as Interact Area 4 journalist for the Rotary Area 5170 newsletter her junior year, and Interact president her senior year. Whereas Katie most recently was and scheduled 60 Interact volunteers to work the annual Newark Rotary Club Crab Feed fundraising event. And whereas Katie also served as student government and played varsity tennis for 3 years, all while taking advanced placement courses and occasionally tutoring other students. Therefore, I, Michael Hannon, Mayor of the City of Newark, and my colleagues do hereby commend Katie for all of her service to Interact and making us all proud of her accomplishments. Please join me in thanking her. And before I present this commendation to Katie, I just want to put it in perspective. Katie organized a group of over 40 volunteers from the Interact Club to come work the Rotary event. This event, which benefits all of the nonprofits in Newark and the Tri-City area, raised over $40,000, and we could not have done it and would not have been successful but for the involvement of the Interact group. So big thanks to Katie, big thanks to Joe Stoner, who kind of spearheaded the volunteers that evening, and our event was successful as a result of your efforts, and we thank you. So let me present this to you. Do the folks want to come up? Yeah. So the last was a commendation, not a proclamation. Now we'll get to the proclamations. I'm going to ask Tammy Durant to come on up. Tammy is with Life Elder Care, and I've worked with Tammy now the last, 9 years, I think it is, with Meals on Wheels. And it's really one of the most successful programs where we provide not only meals, healthy meals, to our seniors and those in need, but it's also an opportunity for us volunteers to be with folks for a minute, 2 minutes in their lives every day to check in on how they're doing. And let me just share one quick story with you, because these are things that are not uncommon when you do Meals on Wheels. There was a senior, probably in his 80s, over in Union City, and I was delivering meals to him one day, and normally you knock on his door, he comes to the door, he picks up his meal, and that's the end of it. I knocked on his door, and he said, "Can you come around to the back?" It was an apartment complex. So I walked around to the back, I walked in, he's laying on the floor, and he's bleeding. And he told me he had fallen down the stairs at 6 o'clock that morning, and here it's 11:30, and he'd been laying there for the last 5.5 hours. And I could see the bleeding on his leg, and I said, I need to call 911. We need to get somebody out here to make sure you're okay. And he goes, I just need you to help me up, get into my chair. So I helped him up, get into a chair, and was ready to leave, and I did leave. And I got outside, and I thought, I can't leave this gentleman the way he is. And so I called 911. Police and fire came, and they determined that he did need medical assistance and took him to the hospital, and he survived. But, if I decided to leave in that condition, he might have bled to death because he was on that blood-thinning medication. But that's what Meals on Wheels does. We look after our seniors, make sure they're okay, we check in with them, and we provide them with a healthy meal. So those of you that have the opportunity to volunteer or know folks that are looking for opportunities to volunteer, it's a great organization. My last story on this regard is people ask, how did you get involved in Meals on Wheels? I said, well, my father-in-law did Meals on Wheels back in Wisconsin. Try to think about doing Meals on Wheels in the snow. And I subsequently found out that he didn't volunteer to do Meals on Wheels. His wife volunteered him to do Meals on Wheels because she didn't drive. So he drove, she did the meals, and that's how they were able to get done what they got done. So it's a great organization. I've been proud to be associated with them for the last number of years. And so I'm proud to read this proclamation. Whereas on March 22nd, 1972, President Richard Nixon signed into law a measure that amended the Older Americans Act of 1965 and established a national nutrition program for seniors 60 years and older. Some of us might qualify. Some of us might qualify now. Whereas Meals on Wheels America established the March for Meals campaign in March of 2002 to recognize the historic month, the importance of Older American Act nutrition programs, and raise awareness about senior hunger. And whereas the 2023 observation of March for Meals celebrates 21 years of providing an opportunity to support Meals on Wheels program that deliver vital and critical services by donating, volunteering, and raising awareness about senior hunger and isolation. And whereas Life Elder Care, a program providing home-delivered meals, has served our Newark community admirably for more than 48 years. Volunteers for Life Elder Care are the backbone of the program, and they are not only delivering nutritious meals to seniors and individuals with disabilities who are at significant risk of hunger and isolation, but also caring, concerning, and attention to their welfare. Whereas Life Elder Care programs in Alameda County provide a powerful socialization opportunity for millions of seniors to help combat loneliness and isolation. Therefore, I, Michael Hannon, Mayor of the City of Newark, on behalf of my colleagues on the City Council, recognize this 21st annual March for Meals month of Newark and urge every citizen to take the month to honor Meals on Wheels of Alameda County and its programs, the seniors they serve, and the volunteers who care for them. So big recognition to Meals on Wheels and Life Elder Care.
I was just going to say a few words. Thank you very much for your support in Newark. And Mike is exactly correct. We're delivering a daily nutritious meal, a smile, and a daily well check. And it's not uncommon for our volunteers to come across a senior that may need some assistance. If they don't come to the door, we're calling. If they don't answer, we're calling their emergency contacts to check on them, or even the police for a welfare check. But I did want to share some numbers. For last calendar year, the Life Elder Care program served 15,420 meals to Newark clients, and we served 85 clients in the city of Newark. And so we continue to grow that this year, and I just wanted to share that. And I did tell the team earlier that as bad as the weather is right now, imagine we're delivering, the volunteers are delivering anyways, Monday through Friday, 10:30 to 12:30, and they're delivering meals, rain or shine. So that's an amazing feat these days. So thank you.
Thank you, Tammy. Let me present this commendation to you and your organization. Sometimes at the end of the routes, I'll have an extra meal because somebody may not be home. I bring them home and I give them to Kathy. Public comment. The next item is public comment on any item not listed on the agenda. For Zoom attendees, please use the raise your hand feature if you would like to speak. Anybody who would like to speak on any non-agendized item? Ms. Lafter, are there any requests to speak? Thank you very much. The next item is the consent calendar. The consent calendar consists of items D1 through D4. Are there any items that staff would like pulled from the consent calendar?
Not this evening, Your Honor.
Thank you. Are there any items that any member of the public would like pulled from the consent calendar? Are there any items that my colleagues would like pulled from the consent calendar? Okay. The consent calendar consists of the following items: approval of audited demands, approval of the February 23, 2023 minutes, adopt a resolution authorizing the city manager to execute the third amendment to the contractual services agreement with 4 Leaf Inc. to provide temporary professional planning services, and 4, adopt a resolution approving an amendment to resolution number 11383, the compensation and benefit plan for the management, supervisory, and professional employee group dated July 1, 2022 through June 30, 2025, to increase the salary range for the community preservation manager classification from range 12 to 15, and approve an amendment to the city's salary schedule in conformance with California Code of Regulations Title II, Section 570.5. Would someone like to move these items to be approved as recommended by staff, with any items approved by resolution or ordinance being numbered consecutively and then the reading of the title suffice for purposes of introduction or adoption of an ordinance?
So moved.
Moved by Councilmember Bucci,
Seconded.
by Councilmember Jorgens. Okay,
Getting it down.
I am.
Yeah.
And that carries 4 ayes with Susie Collazo, the vice mayor, absent. Thank you. Public hearings. There are no public hearings this evening. F is other business. Number 1 is adopt a resolution approving a memorandum of understanding for the development of a multi-jurisdictional local hazardous mitigation plan. Mr. Benoon?
Yes, good evening, Your Honor, members of the council. As Your Honor so indicated, item F1 is a recommendation from staff to enter an agreement, a JPA, for certain services. This is a multi-jurisdictional local hazard mitigation plan. The cost of this plan is $16,000. Tonight, our emergency services coordinator, Mr. Rich Martinez, will be providing the staff report. He has a PowerPoint presentation. He'll walk us through it. Before I pass it over to Mr. Martinez, I'd be remiss if I failed to properly introduce him. Mr. Martinez is our shared emergency services coordinator. So he is a joint FTE with the City of Union City. He's technically an employee of the City of Union City, and as such, we did not do the formal recognition and acknowledgement at a council meeting, and I certainly apologize for that. I would like to give a little bit of background about Mr. Martinez. He earned a political science degree from Cal State University East Bay. In addition, he studied at the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, where he earned a certificate in emergency management. He served in the Marine Corps for 12 years, and we thank him for his service to our country. He worked for many years in a large semiconductor company, and then he went over to the City of Union City and served in their rec department. And so when this position became available, it was natural. The previous city manager for Union City and I jointly selected Mr. Martinez for this position, and he's been a pleasure to work with. A little bit about, just on a personal note, Mr. Martinez enjoys playing golf with his friends, playing baseball, and although he is a steadfast Oakland A's fan, he did play a game at AT&T Park at some point in his life. And he enjoys watching sports and spending time with his family. So with that, I'm going to pass it over to Mr. Martinez. He's going to walk us through the presentation, and at the end, he'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have. Mr. Martinez?
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, council members, my name is Rich Martinez. Tonight I'll be talking to you about the Memorandum of Understanding for the Multi-Jurisdictional Local Hazard Mitigation. So the agenda for tonight, I'll be talking to you a little bit about what we've been doing in the Office of Emergency Management Services over the last couple of years. We'll also be talking about the local hazard mitigation background, some of the importance of the local hazard mitigation plan, the current local hazard mitigation plan that we have in place, a little bit of the timeline and activities of the current plan that we're getting ready to adopt, and then the proposed memorandum of understanding. So to talk about the disaster preparedness, we've been working on reviewing and updating our comprehensive emergency management plan. That includes our emergency operation plan, our standard operation plan, and annexes such as sheltering and evacuation. We also held our first disaster council meeting in 6 years. That disaster council meeting reviewed CERT, or Community Emergency Response Teams, activities. In regards to emergency management and response, we worked on COVID-19 response. So I was the coordinator with this county and the state Office of Emergency Services, making sure that information was being passed from and to the city with updates from the public health as well as county Office of Emergency Services. In January, we had the recent storms, and again, that's one where I partnered with the county Office of Emergency Services and the state's Office of Emergency Services, providing information to and from the different jurisdictions, or from the city of Newark up to the county and to the state. We also are working on CERT, which is a Community Emergency Response Team. It's a community-based organization. During the pandemic, we were not able to meet in person. However, we were able to start moving to virtual meetings. We also partnered with the City of Union City's CERT program to conduct trainings together. And again, we did that virtually. We also worked with the Alameda County Fire Department to develop a hybrid CERT academy so that people who wanted to learn about CERT could participate, and where it was online, and then when it was safe, we would do in-person training. Newark CERT also adopted a task book. This task book allows for our CERT members to be able to train and sign off on different activities such as traffic control, search and rescue, and CPR. We also deployed our CERT members back at the SEU complex fires. They went to Pleasanton and they answered phones for Alameda County Fire in response to these fires. In October, we're going to be holding a CERT Academy in person. It'll be the first time in over 3 years that the CERT Academy will be in person. And if any community members are interested in CERT, I would encourage them to go to our city's website. Under residents, there's a preparedness page, and we have more information about how to join our CERT program. As far as community outreach and training, we have been providing personal emergency preparedness trainings. Those trainings teach residents how to prepare for an emergency, putting a plan together, and communicating with their families on what to do during a disaster. We also held 2 Listos trainings. That's a statewide program. It basically takes the personal emergency preparedness program and it walks the residents through filling out a plan for themselves and their family. Those 2 Listos trainings were done in Spanish, and we are going to continue to offer PEP and Listos trainings to our community members throughout this year. We also partnered with the City of Fremont and City of Union City's Family Services and the Tri-City Animal Shelter to develop videos discussing how to transition back into the workforce if you care for youth or seniors or pets, because a lot of people were staying at home for a long time. The seniors, the pets, the young children get used to having you around the house all the time. It's a transition, and so we were able to work with the Family Services at Tri-City Animal Shelter to talk about different things that people could do to make that transition a little bit easier. In regards to the employee training, we also did a refresher on disaster service worker requirements so that people knew as city employees what our role is as a disaster service worker. We also rolled out ICS training. It's a FEMA response training. It talked about National Incident Management System and the Standard Emergency Management System. These are going to be the standards that we're going to use when we're responding to disasters as city employees. And then going on to the background for our local hazard mitigation plan. Disaster Mitigation Act of 2000 requires all jurisdictions to have an active local hazard mitigation plan in place. What that does is it allows for us to identify natural hazards that could impact communities. It also allows us to identify actions and activities that could reduce losses in our community. It's required to adopt a jurisdiction-wide plan known as the Local Hazard Mitigation Plan, and we're required to review it and update it at least every 5 years. So what is the importance of the plan? Well, it presents a strategy for reducing the city's vulnerability and strengthening community resilience. It also serves as a guide for decision makers as a resource that are being committed. This also allows the city to be eligible for Federal Emergency Management Agency pre-disaster mitigation, hazard mitigation grant programs. And it also lays the foundation for the general plan policies. So a little bit about our current plan. On July 11th of 2017, the city partnered with the City of Union City, Alameda County Water District, and the Union Sanitary District to adopt the 2016-2017 Newark Union City Multi-Jurisdictional Local Hazard Mitigation Plan. On August 18th of 2017, the Newark and Union City plan was approved by FEMA, and now the new plan will supersede the existing plan. So a little bit about the timeline of what we're doing right now to update the plan. In May of 2021, the cities of Newark, Fremont, Union City, Alameda County Water District, and Union Sanitary District agreed to submit a notice of intent for a FEMA grant to hire a consultant to help prepare the single plan for all our agencies. In June of 2021, all partnering agencies signed a letter of commitment as a part of the FEMA grant application. The City of Fremont submitted a sub-application to Cal OES and FEMA as the lead agency for this grant. In September of 2022, FEMA notified Cal OES approval of grant for preparation of our plan. In December of 2022, City of Fremont released a request for proposal for a consultant to prepare the plan. And then in January of 2023, the plan's project team held interviews for selection of a consultant. In February of 2023, the consultant was selected, and the City of Fremont is negotiating with Foster Morrison on behalf of all the agencies. They also accepted the FEMA grant. In March of April 2023, we anticipate kicking off the meetings for the first steering committee for these plans. And then by December of 2023, we'll have completion of the plan project and with FEMA and Cal OES approved plan in place. The Memorandum of Understanding allows us to formalize a joint participation and shared financial risk associated with this FEMA grant. The City of Fremont would be authorized to enter into a contract with a consultant to prepare the plan on behalf of all parties. The MOU also provides a scope of work for the consultant to prepare a draft plan for review by all parties. It also allows for each party to have the opportunity to provide comments and edits to the contractor about the plan prior to its final revision. Each party is going to be responsible for a portion of the cost. And for Newark, our cost shall not exceed $16,644.72. And Newark shall pay this portion through in-kind services of staff assigned to this project. So the recommendation, the staff recommends that the city council adopt a resolution approving a memorandum of understanding between the city of Newark, city of Fremont, city of Union City, Alameda County Water District, and Union Sanitary District for the development of a multi-jurisdictional local hazard mitigation plan. That's the end of the presentation, and if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer those.
Thank you for the presentation. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak to this item? Ms. Lafter, is there anybody online that would like to speak to this item? Colleagues, questions, comments? Yes, Councilmember Bucci?
Hey, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Martinez, thank you for the presentation. I think $16,000 is a small price to pay for a hazard mitigation plan as thorough as this one. A couple quick questions. I missed it. I was happy to hear that our CERT class is coming back after 3 years. I know a few people gone through it. It's a great class. Did you say August?
It'll be in October, council member.
It'll be in October?
Yes.
Okay. That way, just when we tell people they can sign up again, I want to make sure I have the right dates. And then you had briefly mentioned that the original mitigation plan in 2017 had to go through FEMA approval afterwards, and since this one will supersede that one, even though we had a FEMA grant, do we have to go through some sort of FEMA approval process again, or is it just kind of accepted?
No, we'll still have to go through a FEMA approval process. However, they have changed where the city council can actually approve the plan prior to FEMA approval, as long as Cal OES and FEMA have given us the green light that it's going to go through. So we don't have to wait for FEMA to give us the okay.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you for the report. I love to see efforts where we in the Tri-City areas are working collaboratively on a situation like this. If we have a natural disaster, it's going to be incumbent upon all cities working together to address the concerns, the fears, and the unknown that our residents in all of these neighborhoods are going to experience. I lived through the 1989 earthquake in San Jose, and I'll be honest with you, after that earthquake, we received thousands and thousands of phone calls from concerned residents who thought that their homes were in danger of collapsing because either chimneys had fallen, homes had come off their foundation. So we were receiving thousands of phone calls, and we had to go out there and assure our residents that their homes were safe, that they were safe to occupy. But that's what's going to happen if we have a natural disaster of that magnitude hit this area. So we need to be collaborative in terms of being responsive when those situations arise. Will the city council have an opportunity to comment on the product that you mentioned?
Are you talking, I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor.
On the draft that
on the
comes
draft?
through? Yeah.
Generally, it would be the executive team.
Okay.
That would be the ones that would review and
Perfect.
have final, yeah.
And Mr. Benoon, just for my own edification, if there should be such a natural disaster, will we need to pull folks together in the city of Newark? I would imagine you're the lead in that response.
Sure. If some sort of disaster were to occur, whether it be an earthquake, train derailment, airplane incident, things of that types of nature, the city manager serves as the director of emergency services and is authorized under the city's municipal code to declare a local emergency and take any necessary action and mobilize resources to address that issue. So we're training for tabletop exercise in July to go through that type of scenario. We have several members of the city's executive team as well as backups to serve various components and roles to have an effective and efficient EOC, Emergency Operations Center. So we're planning for those types of things. In the event that the council had to take some extraordinary action in use of fiscal reserves within a very short time period, we're enabled under the law to call for quick meetings. We do have several millions of dollars to use should that need arise. So I do thank Mr. Martinez and Ms. Avorka for prioritizing this and coming together and really coming up with an effective plan. I also thank the council for their wisdom in recognizing this a few years ago. The council's direction was very clear to have an emergency services coordinator because, as your honor pointed out, in the event that an incident would arise, the community looks to the city for leadership, and that's true whether it's something, an FCC matter involving a train, excuse me, not FCC, the Railroad Authority, FTA, Federal Railroad, FRA, there it is, a lot of acronyms. If there's an item within jurisdiction of some other agency, the reality is the community makes no distinction between government and would expect some sort of leadership. And so I applaud the council for their action in authorizing this joint FTE.
Excellent. And I can't underemphasize the importance of going through these exercise programs, because we think we're prepared when that disaster occurs, but when you pull the team together under a scenario situation that's occurred, it just, points out the responsibility of each one of the players, and it makes it much more of a smooth response when critical decisions need to be made. So, Mr. Martinez, thank you for your participation and your assistance, and thank you, Mr. Benoon, for bringing this to our attention. There is a motion, I need a motion, rather, to approve the grant, our portion of the grant.
So moved.
Moved by Councilmember Bucci.
I can second the motion.
Councilmember Freitas, second. All those, please vote. God, I'm getting it down. And that passes 4 ayes with Vice Mayor Susie Collazo absent.
Resolution of the City Council of the City of Newark approving the City of Newark to enter into a memorandum of understanding with the cities of Fremont and Union City, Alameda County Water District, and Union for the development of a multi-jurisdictional local hazard mitigation plan.
Before I get to council comments, I want to advise my colleagues and those in the audience that we will be closing tonight in Gary Galliano. Gary Galliano was a retired former city attorney for the city of Newark who passed away on Sunday, March the 5th. For those of us who worked with him, we all remember him as a friend, a colleague who possessed extraordinary wit, insightful humor, a vast legal acumen, and a characteristic and sometimes uncanny facial expressions. For those who did not know, appointed by the Newark City Council in 1993 and served as our city attorney continuously until 2012. Gary was born and raised in Oakland, received an undergraduate degree from the University of Oregon, go Ducks, and earned a law degree from the University of California at Berkeley School of Law.
Go Bears.
He passed the California bar examination in 1970. He maintained a general civil practice for a few years, and in July of 1974 was appointed as the deputy city attorney for Newark. In January of 1991, while still in private practice at the Garcia, Brizzoni, and Galliano law firm, he became the assistant city attorney for both Newark and Union City. In 2002, he stopped working in private practice and became a full-time city attorney. Gary is survived by his wife, Judy, their children, and their grandchildren. There are no plans for funeral services for Gary, but let's make sure we keep him in our thoughts and prayers. With that being said, I'll turn to my colleagues for any additional comments they may wish to make, and I'll start with Councilmember Jorgens.
Nothing for me tonight.
Thank you, Councilmember. I'll now go to Councilmember Freitas.
Thank you, Your Honor. Gary Galliano was a great individual. I knew him I was here when he was hired as a part-time basis, and so he was always a great individual. So I understand there's no service, everything is in private, but to jury and the entire family, Gary, rest in peace, great individual. Now, I'd like also to congratulate you, or our city council, because we hosted last night the Mayor's Conference of Alameda County, and that cycles, I guess, every 14 months because we hosting 14 cities in Alameda County, but due to the pandemic, we've been not hosting for the last 2 or 3 years. So you did an excellent showcase in your presentation, and I guess the mayors of other cities was kind of surprised with when you showcase with the PowerPoint presentation, and I guess with the collaborative of Larry Gerpart, she did an excellent job. So everybody was impressed. So congrats to you and to Walt.
Thank you, Councilmember.
Thank you.
Councilmember Pucci.
Yep. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would also like to offer my condolences to the Galliano family. You know, obviously, he was our city manager, our city attorney, right before city manager Benoon became our city attorney. And I still hear stories about him all over City Hall, and people are still repeating his jokes. So he obviously had a huge impact on our city, and I certainly appreciate the time he spent here. I'd also just like to remind everybody that, hey, St. Patrick's Day is next Friday, and don't drink and drive, right? Like with Uber and Lyft and Tipsy Tow, AAA will tow you and your car home, right? And let's be honest, you can walk home anywhere in Newark in 20 minutes. So there's really no need to be drinking and driving out there. So, you know, be responsible, have some fun, but make it home safely. And then lastly, I wanted to let everybody know that Love Newark has a big fundraiser, casino fundraiser coming up on April 1st. It's going to be at Swiss Park. There are still a few tickets available, so get them because it's going to be a good time. We're going to raise a lot of money to help services here in town. So thank you, Mr. Mayor.
And Councilmember Bucci, who's going to be emceeing that fundraising event?
I am.
Outstanding.
Yeah, it's going to be a good time.
It's going to be a good time. I want to echo Councilmember Freitas' comments about last night. For those of you that had the opportunity to be here, really kudos, Mr. Benoon, to you and your staff. It was a fabulous event. People were marveling at the Civic Center project that we put together on time, on budget, actually saving ourselves $6 million. And real credit to all of the staff that participated. I mean, I could go through probably a list of 30 or 40 staff that all assisted in that regard. But I think the best way to capture how well we did was when I saw that we received an email from the executive director of the mayor's group, and he says, "Hello, Kathy and Lori, thank you and the entire Newark team for coordinating the March 2023 Alameda County Mayor's Conference meeting. Your new Civic Center is great. The food was delicious. The IT equipment worked." Obviously, that's an issue with other communities. "And the guests seemed to appreciate meeting with their colleagues and enjoying a conversation with a meal. I understand this work is above and beyond your typical duties, but hopefully you feel good that all the mayor's staff and guests enjoyed the event. I move to have all future mayor's conference meetings in Newark." Thanks again, and when you get a minute, they want the PowerPoint presentation. I can't think of a better way to summarize how successful the event was when they continually want to come back to the great city of Newark for these events. So really proud of our city. I thought we did a great job. And again, recognizing that my colleague, Vice Mayor Collazo, is not here, I'm going to remind all of our residents to shop Newark. And before I close, I want to turn it over to our city manager for any final comments he'd like to make.
No, thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak. I appreciate the kind words about Mr. Galliano from the council. He was obviously a close friend of mine, and I appreciate that. Also like to thank staff for coming together and putting on a fabulous event. Thank you I'm just the one who's there assisting. It really is the staff that really puts this on, and I thank them for all their service. Just a brief update, we do have some very slippery roads this evening. Staff will be out in full force and effect. We are experiencing significant rainfall right now, between 1 and 1.5 inches of rain. I think the concern is later this evening, between 10 and midnight, we'll see some rather high sustained winds, potentially up to 28, 30 miles per hour, and with gusts as high as 45 mile per hour. After midnight, those winds should die down, so the brunt of it will be later this evening. We do have public works staff coming out tonight in various crews. They'll be proactive, monitoring our streets, making sure that everything is is safe. We are prepared to take necessary action should this continue to escalate throughout the night, but we certainly don't anticipate that happening, but we're planning for the worst. We have a meeting in the morning to see if there's any potential damage to any structures, make sure our streets are safe, and we will update any Google and Maps and Apple Maps if we have to close any city streets. Again, I'm not terribly concerned about the rainfall, but it sounds like the wind may very well be an issue, so we'll be on the lookout for that. So that's all I have this evening, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Benoon, and again, real kudos to you, Mr. Benoon, and the city maintenance staff. Most cities are reactive when it comes to situations like this. We're proactive. We want to be out there in the community to try to show the community that we're responsible before an incident occurs, and hopefully no incidents occur. So we will be adjourning to closed session for conference with labor negotiations pursuant to California Government Code Section 54957.6. Agency designated representatives will be the city manager, Mr. Benoon, Assistant City Manager Havorka, Human Resources Director Solido, Employees Group, the Newark Association of Miscellaneous Employees, the Newark Police Management Association, the Newark Police Association, the Confidential Employees Group, and the Management, Supervisory, and Professional Employees Group. Would anyone in the audience like to speak to the council before we recess to closed session? Ms. Lafter, any requests online to speak to this issue? Okay. So we will now recess and go into closed session, as I just described. We will adjourn the meeting after closed session. Thank you.